I'm a big Sonic fan, and throughout all the games in the series, Sonic Rush is definitely one of the coolest. In 2005, Sonic Rush was released on the Nintendo DS. Developed by Dimps and Sonic Team and published by Sega, it's a 2.5D platformer with a lot of speed. It's definitely one of the fastest Sonic games. It also pioneered the boost formula, which basically ruled the main Sonic series from 2008 to 2017. The game also features a pretty cool trick system, where you get more boost by doing tricks in the air and while you're grinding on rails. The game takes place across both the screens, because, as the back of the box says, double the screens, double the excitement. Even though I only got a DS recently, I still have a lot of experience with this game, since I played it on random websites as a kid. One of the coolest things about the game is the soundtrack, which I think is one of the best soundtracks of any game ever. I listen to it all the time. The soundtrack being so great isn't that surprising, considering the game's soundtrack was mostly done by the legend Hideki Naganuma, who also did the soundtracks for the Jet Set Radio games. The soundtrack enhances the game a lot. It's so much fun to rush through the levels with the music blasting, and the mashing section in the Sonic vs. Blaze fight with Villanova Part 2 playing is so amazing. Another cool thing is that the songs have different remixes depending on if you're playing as Sonic or Blaze. The Sonic series is famous for its soundtracks, but this game really stands out from the rest with how great and unique it is. Some of my favourite songs in the soundtrack are Villanova, Villanova Part 2, Mama Barbara, A New Day, Back to Back, Right There, Right On, and I better stop there, because I'm probably going to end up listing the whole soundtrack. Even the Act Clear noise is cool. It's so satisfying when you finally get an F rank. Another awesome thing about this game is Blaze the Cat, who's one of my favourite Sonic characters. She has a great design and she's so awesome and epic and cool. This was her first appearance. She was designed to kind of be an opposite to Sonic while also being like an alternate version of him. It's kind of hard to explain. This chart made by Dewline2990/BlueHedgePig on Reddit shows a lot of the parallels between the two characters. Blaze is from another dimension called the Soul Dimension. She's a princess and the guardian of the Soul Emeralds, which are her dimensions equivalent to the Chaos Emeralds. If Blaze's dimension is called the Soul Dimension, then is Sonic's dimension called the Chaos Dimension? Cause that would be awesome. She's basically the main character of the game along with Sonic, because you need to complete both their stories and collect all the emeralds to unlock the true final boss. They go to the same zones, but in a different order. Sonic usually fights against Eggman Nega, who's the dimensional counterpart of Eggman, but Blaze fights the normal Eggman. Sonic has Tails as a support character, but Blaze has Cream the Rabbit, which is pretty cool. She used to be in a lot of stuff in the early 2000s, but she didn't have any major appearances for a while, and only recently came back. Blaze is really fun to play as. She's a bit slower than Sonic, but she gets more airtime, so you can do more tricks in the air, and she has cool fire powers and attacks and stuff, which is epic. There's a lot of variety with the stages, and the game has a lot of cool and unique stage hazards/gimmick. The game has 7 main zones, each ending in a boss, and 2 boss zones. There's a really cool feeling of intensity to the later levels. To collect all the Chaos Emeralds, you have to find special generators in Sonic levels, and spin on them to teleport into a half-pipe special stage. These stages work pretty great with the DS stylus. It's probably one of my favourite special stages in the franchise. You have to get a certain amount of rings by the end to get the Chaos Emerald. There's also some robots and other hazards to avoid, and these things that launch you into the air and make you tap on a bunch of buttons in order to get a bunch of rings. Blaze collects the Soul Emeralds in the story, so you don't have to do anything special to get them. In the credits for Blaze's story, there's a little animation of sprites of Cream and Blaze walking at different speed. It's kind of weird. It makes it seem like they walk together for a bit, then Blaze starts to leave Cream, then Cream runs back to Blaze, and then it repeats like that for the whole credits. In the credits for Sonic's story, it has Amy chasing Sonic with a hammer. The game also has a time attack mode and a battle mode. The time attack is just to replay levels and get a faster time, but the battle mode seems pretty cool. It's where 2 players race to the end of the level as Sonic and Blaze. Another cool thing about this game is the boss fights. I know a lot of people don't like them, and they can get pretty hard, but it's really satisfying when you finally win. I do agree that the bosses do go on too long though. You have to hit them like 8 times on normal difficulty, and they don't give you much chances to hit them. The normal boss theme Metal Scratching is great, but some of the more important boss fights have their own themes, which are all amazing. My favourite boss is probably the Sonic vs Blaze fight. The Egg King boss fight is also great, but it's so hard. It took me ages to beat the first time I played. The true final boss is hard, but it's still really cool and awesome, but I'll talk more about that later. You might be wondering why Blaze and Eggman Nega are even in Sonic's dimension in the first place. Well, now might be a good time to talk about the story. I'll recap it in chronological order, like how it's shown in Adrenaline Dub's abridged retelling video. It means abridged as in shortened, not a funny version like Dragon Ball abridged or Yu-Gi-Oh abridged. It has all the important cutscenes of Sonic Rush with voice acting and some 3D animations and stuff. It's really cool, you should watch it. First of all, after following Dr. Eggman who stole the Soul Emeralds, a white flash of light happens, and Blaze wakes up in Carnival Night Zone in Sonic's dimension. She wants to recover the Soul Emeralds because it's her job, and also she doesn't want people to use them for evil. She runs through the zone, which is this cool casino area with a bunch of lights and signs and stuff. Some of the signs have Sonic and Blaze on them, which doesn't really make sense in the story, but it's cool, so who cares. After swinging across some swingy things, grinding across some rails, and running away from a giant ball, she finds Dr. Eggman at the end of the zone. She fights him, kicks him away, and takes the red Soul Emerald. She's so cool. After that, Blaze wonders how she's gonna find the other emeralds, and then she meets Cream. Cream basically just goes up to her, asks her name, and then decides that they're friends. Cream takes Blaze to her house. At Cream's house, Vanilla makes Blaze some tea and says Sonic can help her get the Soul Emeralds back. Blaze finds it weird that these complete strangers are treating her so nicely, and Cream decides she's gonna come with Blaze to help. Blaze goes through Leaf Storm, which is a cool forest level, while Sonic, who's already gone through the level, is fighting Eggman. After Sonic wins, Blaze comes in and takes the blue Soul Emerald, then jumps away. Sonic and Tails talk about what just happened, and then wonder a bit about what Eggman's plan is. Then they go through Water Palace, which I think is the most popular zone in the game. It reminds me a bit of Windmill Isle from Sonic Unleashed, and it's also one of my favourite water levels in the series. It's a really nice looking area, and the level design is really good. Sonic gets to the end of the level expecting to fight Eggman, but the guy looks and acts different. He says his name is Eggman Nega. After Sonic beats him, he flies away before Sonic can ask him any questions. Sonic and Tails are confused, so they go to Tails' workshop for a bit so he can check something. And Tails says there's a tear in the space-time continuum, and it's expanding. They decide they have to fix it, so they go to an ancient Egyptian pyramid for some reason. This level's called Mirage Road. In this level, you go through the interior of a pyramid fighting enemies. In some parts of Act 2, you even go out into the desert for a bit. There's some parts where you have to defeat enemies to progress, and there's also this part where to get to the goal, you have to survive on a moving platform, with enemies and dangerous objects falling down. Sogman? Sonic beats Eggman Nega, but he flies away again. After they leave, they end up at Cream's house, and Vanilla says that Cream and Blaze went to the town. Sonic and Tails go to find them, since Blaze might know something, or be able to help with this dimensional space-time continuum stuff. The path is blocked, but luckily they bump into Knuckles. He's angry for some reason, so he breaks the blockage and leaves. Sonic and Tails go through and end up at a military boat for some reason. This level's called Huge Crisis, and it's a pretty cool and fun level where you run through the military base. There's some parts where you ride in these rocket pusher things, and also some parts where you have to defeat a number of enemies, like in the pyramid level. That adds more variety to the level. The song here is called JJ Rocket, which sounds like Choo Choo Rocket. I'm only pointing this out as an excuse to show this image I made. Anyway, after getting to the end and having another boss fight with Eggman Nega, Sonic and Blaze finally meet for longer than 2 seconds. They try to ask Blaze if she knows anything about Eggman Nega and the space-time continuum stuff, but she says it's her responsibility and she's going to fix it. Then she runs away, and Sonic and Tails wonder what they should do. They end up running into Amy. Sonic asks her about Blaze, and Amy gets mad for a second that Sonic is looking for another girl. Tails explains the situation, and Amy says she saw Blaze and Cream, so Sonic and Tails run off to go catch up to them at this flying fortress level called Altitude Limit. It's a pretty hard level, but it's also a pretty cool one. The level has a lot of rail grinding and bottomless pits since it's so high in the sky. There's parachute sections, and some sections where you can control flying platforms, and even this section where the camera goes behind you and you use a hang glider to glide through the sky, dodging enemies and collecting rings. At the end, Sonic has another boss fight against Eggman Nega. Meanwhile, Cream and Blaze have managed to collect 6 of the Soul Emeralds. They bump into Amy again. She says that Blaze should get Sonic's help to get the last one, but Blaze says she doesn't need it. Then Amy says she should accept people's help or something, and then Cream says Blaze should be friends with Sonic and Amy. Then Knuckles comes. Amy stalls him while Cream and Blaze leave. They head to Eggman's space station, which is a level called Deadline. This level has some anti-gravity sections and some more flying sections like in Altitude Limit. Sonic and Blaze both get through the level at a similar time. Then they start arguing because Blaze won't accept Sonic's help and stuff. And then they have an epic battle. The winner depends on who you're playing as. After the fight, Eggman Nega flies away and Sonic and Blaze become friends. The group have to stop Eggman fast because the universe will disappear. If you're playing as Blaze, Eggman kidnaps Cream and says Blaze has to come alone if she wants to save her. Like all of Blaze's bosses, this one has a different color scheme than it does for Sonic. I think it looks cooler. Anyway, she beats the boss and finds Cream, ending her story. After Sonic beats the boss in his story, which is pretty hard by the way, all his friends come, but then Amy appears and starts chasing Sonic with a hammer, ending his story. But after this, we unlock the last story. Although it seems like we've won, things haven't gone back to normal. Both the Eggmen say something about the universes being linked or something. Their plan is to take the energy of the Chaos and Soul Emeralds, and I think they want to destroy the world so they can create their own. They fly off somewhere. Then Using the powers of the Soul and Chaos Emeralds, Blaze and Sonic turn into Burning Blaze and Super Sonic. They collect rings and dodge boulders, lasers, and other obstacles while they chase down the Eggman's mechs in this purpley pink yellow dimensional area. It's a super cool and epic moment. At different parts of the fight you switch between playing as Sonic fighting Eggman or playing as Blaze fighting Eggman Nega. After a long battle, Sonic and Blaze go full speed and crash into the mech, pushing it far into the distance where it explodes. After that, Sonic and Blaze say their goodbyes. Blaze has to go back to her dimension. She thanks Sonic for all the help and they move closer. It kind of seems like they're gonna kiss for a second, but they just shake hands. Then they get pulled away from each other and sent back to their own dimensions. As Blaze flies away, she reflects on what she's learned and has a memory of Sonic. She thinks she'll probably see him again at some point and flies away, ending the game. After the credit, we see Cream crying, but Sonic doesn't care and starts dancing in the background and ignores her. That was Sonic Rush. One of my favorite Sonic games, and maybe one of my favorite games in general. The Rush style is my favorite style for modern Sonic in 2D, and I was kind of disappointed that Sonic Generations 3DS didn't use this style of gameplay. The game has such a good soundtrack. It's so fast and fun, and also it has Blaze. I love this game so much. I even put this Sonic and Blaze picture in my DS case. The game received pretty high review scores and sold pretty well, so it's not surprising that I got 2 sequels. Since I love the first game so much, maybe you're wondering what my thoughts are on the sequels. Well, I've never played them, but I definitely want to eventually, and I'll probably make videos on them when I do. Unfortunately, Blaze the Cat doesn't have much major appearances nowadays, but I'm hoping she'll return soon. Bye, I'm gonna go and listen to the Sonic Rush soundtrack again.